tennis news, Nick Kyrgios has been hit with a $1,500 fine for an outburst at the Shanghai Tennis Open, pushing him closer to a potential 4-week ban. And that's the FiveAA Sport.
Now checking FiveAA forecast.
Open more doors with Harcourt Shepherd Property, the largest Harcourt group in SA. Just Google Shepherd Property.
Fine and 30 today. Tomorrow becoming cloudy, 34. Friday cloudy and 25. Partly cloudy Saturday, 24. And mostly sunny for Sunday, 27. Currently 8 degrees. More news as it happens on FiveAA.
Power your next adventure in a Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo from 46k drive away. Don't hold back. Visit your local Jeep dealer today. This is FiveAA Breakfast.
Right on 23 minutes to 7. Shortly we'll check in with police media and get a sense of what took place in Adelaide overnight. But right now we cross over to New Zealand and speak with Selwyn Manning. Good morning to you, Selwyn.
Yeah, good morning, Will.
Hey, Selwyn, we love our catch-ups with you in your capacity as the editor of eveningreport.nz. Now, trans-Tasman relations are going to warm up a bit over the coming days with our newish Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, making his first visit to New Zealand since assuming the top job. And him and John Key, they're quite similar people, really, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, Dave. They come from a similar political background. They've both been in those money market areas. They're both moderates in their own parties. So there's a lot of common ground there. But the pressure on John Key has been building up this week with he's been called to give a pretty strong message to Turnbull to stop New Zealanders from being detained in those detention centres around Australia and Christmas Island. Now, according to the government figures, Dave, around 200 Kiwis are currently detained on deportation orders, special visas revoked, mainly because it appears that they have cumulatively served more than 12 months in prison over their lifetimes. Now, this issue, you may remember, Dave, a few weeks ago raised it as a breaking news issue, but John Key, he raised the issue at that time with Australia's Foreign Minister Julie Bishop, of course, in New York. At the time, he said his message to Bishop was blunt and that he would raise concerns directly with Turnbull. But since then, Dave, Key appears to be less focused on the issue. He's obviously wanting to raise other issues of prominence with Malcolm Turnbull. Likewise, Malcolm Turnbull with him. In the House, the opposition picked this up, and in Parliament yesterday, the Labor Party began demanding that he place concerns for the detained Kiwis at the top of his list. Now, it's turned into a political stoush, Dave. John Key is calling the Labor Party basically Australia's lapdogs when they were in government, and he is saying that he will get results in his own way.
It's been quite a big issue, or certainly one that's been bubbling along for years in Australia, because under the immigration laws here, there's a category of people called criminal non-citizens, where if you've been granted any kind of residential status, even only temporary residential status through a bridging visa, if it emerges that you have got some sort of criminal record for actions that you committed back in your homeland, the government here reserves the right to deport you. But while they're checking out your bona fides, they do throw these people into detention centres like at Villawood. And, you know, without saying that all of these people deserve it, some of them are actually real hardheads who are up on, you know, very serious sort of crimes of violence sort of charges.
Yeah, that's granted. Some of them have been in Australia since the age of 18 months of age. Some of them, for example, have been in detention centre pending this. I think the view back in New Zealand is it's absolutely fine to deport, but to deport to New Zealand, not banging them up in detention centres all over the over the region. But the Prime Minister earlier on with Julie Bishop, he did play the Anzac card, Dave. And was pushing that, saying there's a special relationship there. There was, according to our government in New Zealand, there was very little information that was being exchanged between their counterparts in Australia. That has improved after Julie Bishop got on the scene. There was mainly focusing last month around one of the Kiwis that was in the detention centre that allegedly committed suicide. And there's some of the conditions are obviously coming to light. The other thing is that with the discussions, the pressure on John Key is to try and actually get a clearer picture as to how Australia will handle in future those that pretty much have been there since they were little toddlers or children.
Selwyn, on a somewhat lighter note, albeit still a significant flashpoint between the two countries, the Rugby World Cup. What's the feeling on the ground in New Zealand about New Zealand's chances?
Yeah, well, New Zealand's chances, it's certainly going to be tested. The New Zealand Herald has a ranking, Will, and the Wallabies are at the top of that ranking at the moment. Now, the reasons for that is basically Australia going through that pool of death, if you like, and coming through really strongly, being able to dominate its game. New Zealand, it had an easy pool in the Rugby World Cup up there, and so its form has really been criticised here. The All Black camp is saying that it's been at half gear, but back here in New Zealand, they're saying, well, why would you do that? You've got to go into these quarterfinals and be pretty smart, but it could be that Australia versus New Zealand is the final, which is scheduled to play in Twickenham in London on October 31st. So there's a few games to go before then. For that final to happen for both New Zealand and Australia, it would be Australia needs to beat Scotland in the quarterfinals on Sunday, and either beat Ireland or Argentina, whichever one it comes up against in the semis. Now, for the All Blacks to get to the final, they need to beat France and Cardiff on Saturday, and there's concerns about that. And also they need to beat, if they got through that, South Africa or Wales in the semis. So it's really heating up there. It's getting exciting. The press here in New Zealand is just full of it. But, yeah, Australia, the Wallabies, they're the ones that everyone's watching, and they back in this side of the ditch, and remember, we know our rugby, they reckon the Wallabies are the ones that should be the favourites.
Well, you guys are on the much harder side of the draw, Selwyn, facing both the French and then the South Africans. So, it'd be great for our long-standing rivalry if it does end up being the Wallabies and the All Blacks in the final. I'm sure we'll be able to take a few pot shots at each other that week when we talk. So, Selwyn Manning, editor of eveningreport.nz, great to talk to you, mate. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you, Selwyn. And they always find about 25% extra, New Zealand, in any sport when they play against us. It feels like, anyway.
It's a bit like home ground advantage, isn't it? Because they've got passion on their side. A lot of Australians, like us, here particularly in South Australia, we get a bit interested in rugby when big games like this are on. But over there, it's a religion.
It doesn't captivate us, that's for sure, as much as it does there, most certainly. David, a bit of news.